A secularist? Not the least in the world. On the contrary, a confirmed mystic.
Sorry, I'm sure. By the way, Papa, what is your religion, in case I have to introduce you again?
My religion? Well, my dear, I am a millionaire. That is my religion.
Then I'm afraid you and Mr. Shirley won't be able to comfort one another after all. You're not a millionaire, are you, Peter?
No, and proud of it.
Poverty, my friend, is not a thing to be proud of.
Who made your million for you? Me and my like? What's kept us poor, keeping you rich? I wouldn't have your conscience, not for all your income.
I wouldn't have your income, not for all your conscience, Mr. Shirley.
Undershaft sits down on a bench. Barbara stops Shirley adroitly as he is about to retort.
You wouldn't think he was my father, would you, Peter? Will you go into the shelter and lend the lasses a hand for a while? We are worked off our feet.
Yes, I'm in their debt for a meal, ain't I?
Oh, not because you're in their debt, but for love of them, Peter. For love of them.
Shirley cannot understand and is rather scandalized.
There, don't stare at me. In with you and give that conscience of yours a holiday.
It's a pity you never was trained to use your reason, miss. You'd have been a very taken lecturer for secularism.
Barbara bustles him into the shelter, then turns to her father.
Never mind me, my dear. Go about your work and let me watch for a while.
All right.
For instance, what's the matter with that outpatient over there?
Oh, we shall cure him in no time. Just watch.
Barbara looks at Bill, whose attitude has never changed and whose expression of brooding wrath has deepened. She goes over to Bill and waits. He glances up at her and casts his eyes down again, uneasy, but grimmer than ever.
It would be nice to just stamp on Mog Habijam's face, wouldn't it, Bill?
Bill jumps up from the trough in consternation.
It's a lie. I never said so.
Barbara shakes her head.
Who told you what's in my mind?
Only your new friend.
What new friend?
The devil, Bill. When he gets round people, they get miserable, just like you.
I ain't miserable.
Bill sits down again and stretches his legs in an attempt to seem indifferent.
Well, if you're happy, why don't you look happy as we do?
I'm happy enough, I tell you. Why don't you let me alone? What have I done to you? I ain't smashed your face, have I?
Barbara speaks softly, wooing his soul.
It's not me that's getting at you, Bill.
Who else is it?
Somebody that doesn't intend you to smash women's faces, I suppose. Somebody or something that wants to make a man out of you.
Make a man of me? Ain't I a man? Hey? Ain't I a man? Who says I'm not a man?
Well, there's a man in you somewhere, I suppose, but why did he let you hit poor little Jenny Hill? That wasn't very manly of him, was it?
Have done with it, I tell you. Chuck it. I'm sick of your Jenny Hill and her silly little face.
Then why do you keep thinking about it? Why does it keep coming up against you in your mind? You're not getting converted, are you?
Not me. Not likely. Not half.
That's right, Bill. Hold out against it. Put out your strength. Don't let's get you cheap. Todger Fairmile said he wrestled for 3 nights against his salvation, harder than he ever wrestled with the Jap at the music hall. He gave in to the Jap when his arm was going to break, but he didn't give in to his salvation until his heart was going to break. Perhaps you'll escape that. You haven't a heart, have you?
What do you mean? Why ain't I got an heart the same as anybody else?
A man with a heart wouldn't have bashed poor little Jenny's face, would he?
Oh, will you let me alone? Have I ever offered to meddle with you, that you come nogging and provoking me like that?
Bill writhes convulsively from his eyes to his toes. Barbara puts a steady, soothing hand on Bill's arm, speaking with a gentle voice that never lets him go.
It's your soul that's hurting you, Bill, and not me. We've been through it all ourselves. Come with us, Bill, to brave manhood on earth and eternal glory in heaven.
Bill is on the point of breaking down.
Come.
A drum is heard in the shelter, and Bill, with a gasp, escapes from the spell as Barbara turns quickly. Adolphus enters from the shelter with a big drum.
Oh, there you are, Dolly. Let me introduce a new friend of mine, Mr. Bill Walker. This is my bloke, Bill, Mr. Cusins.
Cusins salutes with his drumstick.
Gonna marry him?
Yes.
God help him.
Why? Do you think he won't be happy with me?
I've only had to stand you for a morning. He'll have to stand you for a lifetime.
That is a frightful reflection, Mr. Walker, but I can't tear myself away from her.
Well, I can. Here, miss. Do you know where I'm going to and what I'm going to do?
Yes, you're going to heaven and you're coming back here before the week's out to tell me so.
You lie. I'm going to Ketton Town to spit in Todger Fairmile's eye. I bashed Jenny Hill's face, and now I'll get me own face bashed and come back and show it to her. He'll hit me harder than I hit her. That'll make her swear. Is that fair or is it not? You're a gentleman, you ought to know.
2 black eyes won't make a white one, Bill.
I didn't ask you. Can't you never keep your mouth shut? I asked the gentleman.
Yes, I think you're right, Mr. Walker. Yes, I should do it. It's curious. It's exactly what an ancient Greek would have done.
But what good will it do?
Well, it will give Mr. Fairmile some exercise, and it will satisfy Mr. Walker's soul.
Right. There ain't no such a thing as a soul. I can tell you whether I've got a soul or not. I've never seen it.
I've seen it hurting you when you went against it.
If you was my girl and took the word out of my mouth like that, I'd give you something to think you feel hurt, and so I would. You take my tip, mate. Stop her, John, or you'll die afore your time. Wore out, that's what you'll be. Wore out.
Bill goes away through the gate.
I wonder.
Dolly!
Yes, my dear, it's very wearing to be in love with you. If it lasts, I quite think I shall die young.
Should you mind?
Not at all.
Cusins is suddenly softened and kisses her over the drum, evidently not for the first time, as people cannot kiss over a big drum without practice.
It's all right, Papa. We've not forgotten you. Dolly, explain the place to Papa. I haven't time.
Barbara goes busily into the shelter. Undershaft and Adolphus now have the yard to themselves. Undershaft, seated on a bench and still keenly attentive, looks hard at Adolphus. Adolphus looks hard at him.
I fancy you guess something of what is in my mind, Mr. Cusins.
Cusins flourishes his drumsticks as if in the art of beating a lively rataplan, but makes no sound.
Exactly so. But suppose Barbara finds you out.
You know, I do not admit that I'm imposing on Barbara. I'm quite generally interested in the views of the Salvation Army. The fact is, I am a sort of collector of religions, and the curious thing that I find is I can believe them all. By the way, have you any religion?
Yes.
Anything out of the common?
Only that there are 2 things necessary to salvation.
Ah, the church catechism. Charles Lomax also belongs to the established church.
The 2 things are...
Baptism and...
No! Money and gunpowder.
That is the general opinion of our governing classes. The novelty is in hearing any man confess it.
Just so.
Excuse me, is there any place in your religion for honor, justice, truth, love, mercy, and so forth?
Yes. They are the graces and luxuries of a rich, strong, and safe life.
Suppose one is forced to choose between them and money or gunpowder.
Choose money and gunpowder, for without enough of both you cannot afford the others.
That is your religion?
Yes.
The cadence of this reply makes a full close in the conversation. Cusins twists his face dubiously and contemplates Undershaft. Undershaft contemplates him.
Barbara won't stand that. You will have to choose between your religion and Barbara.
So will you, my friend. She will find out that drum of yours is hollow.
Father Undershaft, you are mistaken. I am a sincere Salvationist. You do not understand the Salvation Army. It is the army of joy, of love, of courage. It has banished the fear and remorse and despair of the old hell-ridden evangelical sects. It marches to fight the devil with trumpet and drum, with music and dancing, with banner and palm, as becomes a sally from heaven by its happy garrison. It picks the waster out of the public house and makes a man of him. It finds a worm wriggling in a back kitchen, and lo, a woman. Men and women of rank, too, sons and daughters of the highest. It takes the poor professor of Greek, the most artificial and self-suppressed of human creatures, from his meal of roots, and lets loose the rhapsodist in him, reveals the true worship of Dionysus to him, sends him down the public street drumming dithyrambs.
Cusins plays a thundering flourish on the drum.
Will alarm the shelter.
Oh, they are accustomed to these sudden ecstasies of piety. However, if the drum worries you...
Cusins pockets the drumsticks, unhooks the drum, and stands it on the ground opposite the gateway.
Thank you.